Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Smite Pro League. This is Saturday. Our first two games European, our second two games North American. I am still hi-rez Bart, and that is still hi-rez Drybear.
Hi.
And we are still live.
We are still live here in Atlanta. Of course, it's the fourth day of the Smite Pro League, and we're getting ready to go with the European side of things. First matchup today is going to be SK Gaming up against Team SoloMid. Team SoloMid has yet to record a win so far in the SPL. SK is on fire right now, so SK looking very sharp, and TSM has to answer.
TSM looking for that first one. As you mentioned, it's going to be a little bit of going back to the last European LAN here, where we did see SK and Coast take it to the finals, taking out Cloud9 and TSM. Cloud9 having a little bit more success, even though coming into this league, most people probably be looking at TSM as a stronger team.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, of course, they were the victors of the launch tournament. They looked good all the way through the point where we got to the EU Pro League kickoff, and all of a sudden, people were wondering, where did TSM go? And that's kind of happening across the board, right? The younger teams, the hungrier teams, the ones that are practicing more, getting more aspects of their gameplay locked down, and then when they come into a fight, it really shines. And so that's what we're seeing right now. TSM looking very, very good so far, as we were able to hear you. So welcome to the show, Bart.
Thank you.
Good to have you. Good to have your voice.
I literally just walked out of production. I was like, hey, you need to turn my mic down. I was like topping out all yesterday, and then I come in here and I go, hello guys, thank you for showing up to the north. So sorry about that. That's on me. But welcome here. We should be getting into game underway here any moment with the picks and bans for TSM and SK. And what's your prediction here? I mean, what do you think the turning point is? I think that for me, it's going to be keeping Reels away from ROM.
Well, there's that, right, but Reels can play almost anything. I mean, he grew up on her. He can play Artemis to a very high level. We know that Apollo's also certainly a high availability for him. And I think the big thing here is that the strong playmakers inside TSM have to wake up today because they need him. Game Hunter, 0.9 KDA, currently not making any plays in the solo lane. He's going up against a very strong Maniac, who Maniac is performing very, very well. He currently is sitting at 5.3 KDA, over five times Game Hunter's stats so far. So definitely need Game Hunter to activate. You need Lobster to activate. Smack has been performing quite well, actually. On the other side for TSM, the only person who has a positive KDA is Cubo.
Wow, that's tough, but also SK here not playing at full strength. Captain Twig unable to play on Saturdays,
Angie.
But it looks like they have found a replacement in Angie. But the first ban coming out from SoloMid is going to be Aphrodite. We haven't seen a lot of banning of Aphrodite, but we have seen her effective when played.
Well, you see her banned against Maniac every single
true.
time. Chonga and Aphrodite cannot be let through.
And that was one time.
Yeah, that's never going to happen again.
Don't expect it to happen again.
Can't let it. So
that's right.
Nuwa banned away from SK. Not want to let that one to go through. Across the way, they might get a hyper carry. Imagine Habwa, Mercury, Loki, all great choice. There's the Mercury ban. Nothing too surprising there. Might see another hyper carry again. No one likes hyper carries, man. They're annoying.
Yeah, I mean, well, they just can abuse you if you let the game go too late. So Habwa, Mercury taken out. Aphrodite, Nuwa as well. First pick. No big surprise there. It's going to be the Zhonghui. He's been so highly prioritized over the last few sets of games here. Over on the response picks for SKs, you got to be thinking they're looking at ROM.
There it is.
They're going to take ROM and Nemesis as well. So very standard counter pick to Zhonghui.
Oh, man. I mean, Reels is averaging like 28,000 damage a game with ROM. It's absolutely insane. I mean, I think ROM is the fourth most damaging character in the SPL just because of Reels. He is dominating with every single performance he brings ROM out. And, if it's available, pick it up and let it roll. Across the way, TSM's got two more selections to make. Will they go for support is the question. Geb, a very high prioritized pick for some teams. I imagine they're going to pick up Geb here. Then they might go for maybe a jungler or possibly even a solo/mid. Question is, or maybe,
So the Geb going to be locked in.
There it is.
Second pick, it will be the Freya. So you were on the nose.
Cubo's very good at Freya.
There. Yeah, it's a good, solid pick for Cuvo. And, it's interesting to see that they don't go for something maybe a little bit more aggressive than the Freya. Just with the Geb, you could go a little more glass can. Saying Freya's not a glass can is a little silly, but I mean, she does have the lifesteal things built into her kit. She's not quite as bursty as something like a Loki that does synergize quite well with the Geb. But Athena picked up as well, and another ban coming out in the way of Chalk for SK. Team SoloMid with their response ban here still pending.
Well, the Game Hunter's been playing a lot of Chalk recently, so getting that off the board is great. Across the way, they're going to get rid of Al Guang. In fact, that's Angie's main character, so getting rid of that is great. So it looks like TSM's doing their homework and shutting him down as he does sub in for Captain Twig. Maniac making the selection for SK so far. They do need a solo, and they actually need a mid. A lot of selections to make here. Ra is still available if you want to go into the solo lane. I imagine Chang'e would be selected, though.
Yeah, counter picks are there for the Ra, but it's still such a good pick even with up against the Chang'e. Even if you can't heal yourself, you still are very effective in the later stages of the game at healing the team once the lanes break, and they will indeed lock in that Ra for Maniac.
There you go.
So heavily justified towards healers in the solo lane that it's no surprise at all to see Ra come out for him.
Well, healers are getting so much stronger nowadays, especially with the fact that people have this propensity to ignore anti-healing. People want to buy Brawler's Beatsec.
Yeah,
people rarely buy Divine's Ruin. Of course, you have the Weakening Curse. A lot of times people will select their first and second active without thinking about it and not really picking up that Weakening Curse.
Beat the sprint.
Beat Sprint. We're good. Wait, we need anti-healing? Oh, no.
Well, that's kind of what Ra is so good at, right? Because you're like, I need a sprint so I can catch the Ra who has sprint. And is also faster than
30% move speed.
And
the speed of light.
He just runs away and heals. But looking back over at Team SoloMid, getting their final selections out here, still need a solo laner and a hunter. Looks like their hunter is going to be Apollo, at least they're looking at it. And for the solo lane, it looks like we're getting a Loki potential here. As we mentioned, it makes a lot of sense to go with the Geb, but can Game Hunter bring it out of the solo lane? He's struggled so far.
Game Hunter can play everything. I'm still, Game Hunter has shown himself over the last 2 years so many times that it's hard to say that he's down for the count. I mean, he's got so much built-in credit across. I mean, Zeros does love Thanatos. He brought Thanatos back into the play, so we'll see. I mean, it's going to work well, especially against Geb.
Awkward. I mean, let's put Nemesis in the solo, but it is such a good counter to Loki. But no, they will elect to go with the Chang'e.
They're going to change it up here with that Chang'e, and so they're going to be locking that in. So it's going to be Chang'e solo Ra mid this time around. So Angie's going to be playing that Ra up against the enemy. Oh boy.
Yeah, somebody's gonna mid from that lineup, and
it's John Quay.
Yeah.
It's gonna be John Quay.
So Ra versus John Quay, and then they're gonna put the Chang'e versus the Loki, or hell, they might put Chang'e mid versus John Quay. That seems to be a pretty reasonable matchup for the
No, it's Maniac. You got to put Maniac on Chang'e. You can't swap that up. There's no way.
Yeah.
I mean, so Maniac can play that Chang'e across the way. It's gonna be a Loki Chang'e matchup in the solo lane, which can work pretty heavily in Loki's favor. But here's the thing: it comes down to the first 4 levels, right? Because Loki, Mercury, Thanatos, all these solo laners that are very bursty but very squishy. It all comes down to when you choose to engage and how hard you engage. Because you can't, like with Loki, just and just stab. You gotta hit all the way hard or get out completely. You can't. There's no gray area there. So we'll see how Game Hunter plays it out. Because if you try to exchange with Chang'e while she's clearing the wave, you're gonna take a lot of damage. Waxing Moon is always a threat. If you're jumping in on that, that stun isn't huge. So we'll see. I mean, Game Hunter, eyes are on him.
Yeah, and TSM does have a little bit of a team that has to kind of pile in there. Loki, Freya, John Quay all want to be in that kind of in the 50-foot range or less, to do their damage. Gab obviously going to try to peel for the team. Apollo can come in a bit later, but Waxing Moon going to be a big factor in this game with those melee-ish and close range-ish kind of mages and assassins.
Well, they got Athena, right? So a multi-person taunt would be huge here for SKs, considering the fact that Freya, Loki, Apollo, all very squishy. But I think that TSM banned and picked an intelligent way to prevent SK from getting a very bolstered team that's hard to get around, right? Because you can get in there and you can avoid Nemesis. She's going to be flanking. Rom's going to be in the back. Chang'e's going to be in the front, but you can go around her as well. So there's going to be a lot of wiggle room for TSM, whereas previously the last 3 days we've seen people build that shell, stand and fight kind of team, which isn't what SK has now. It's close, but it's not all the way there. They have a lot of sustain. So I think the first goal for TSM is figuring out a way to shut down the mid-game healing because Chang'e and Ra are going to take off.
Yeah, the two of them are going to allow some of these pushes to go on a bit longer than they should. And really, for SK, it's been a little bit of a 4-protect-1 almost with Reels just going so nuts. Although it hasn't
just
really
give Reels money.
He's found a solo kill against the enemy hunter in all of his games so far, and it's just turned into such crazy snowballs. In the last game, we saw him get a solo kill to turn into a Gold Fury, and then a triple and into a Quadra in the next team fight. And so I think you're looking at Reels and you're saying we got to keep him down if you're TSM and you have a Freya, and Freya is not going to be as effective as maybe the jungle Loki would have been at shutting down a Rom. Freya going to be a little bit more effective at kind of shutting down maybe the mid lane where she can harass that Ra, especially once Fatalis is done very, very good against Ra, who doesn't have that kind of tweening or distance covering ability that allows him to get away from Fatalis.
Yeah, plus you can side strafe. It's really hard to hit those line skill shots that Ra has, so we'll see how that works out. But you bring up a great point that really needs to be emphasized, I think, is the fact that no matter what happens on the side of SK, if we've seen this all throughout the last 3 days, is that 3 members from the enemy team will gank solo or gank mid, and then across the way Reels gets a solo kill and kills the tower. And it's just you can't leave him alone, or you have to put a lot of faith into Smek today to make sure that lane stays stable. Because if you try to go across the map and here's the thing, they got a gank on solo, and then Reels gets the kill and gets the tower. It's just it's hard to balance that, right? It's a loss and then it's a gain. So Smek very good. You're right. I mean, Smek has been very reliable. In fact, Smek was more of the premier hunter for the longest time, and Reels was that secondary tier until we started getting a lot of LAN tournaments. Everyone's like, "Wow, Reels is actually really good."
It is really good. Yeah, I mean, all of SK they're such good players, and they all sit at such a high level. Then up at the top of that podio, it is Reels.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get a hoorah on that one. So we're going to be moving
Absolutely.
forward here back into the match, and I'm getting close. And I think that we see a lot of strong play from SK, and TSM is yet to activate this week. So we're waiting for a chance to see what TSM is really made of. I mean, we've got so many good players here. And I think Lobster on Junkway is going to make a big difference, right? Because when we saw TSM this week, Lobster playing Ogni, it didn't seem to work because they were forcing a lot of fights there, and he was taking too much damage, getting forced away, dashing to the tower. But with a John Quay, with a passive, obviously the stun, the CC immunity, the massive heal, and the fact that he's got a lot of built-in durability, it may be better for Lobster if they put a lot of aggression on him.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Well, yeah, maybe he needs to be aggressed into. Maybe that is the trick to his success. But let's go ahead and hop into game, ladies and gentlemen, as it is game number 1 today out of a 4-game set we're bringing to you live here from Atlanta. This is the first European game, and it is TSM versus SK. Let's go ahead and introduce TSM. Down 2 games here overall in the Pro League, so looking for the first win. They are Game Hunter in the solo lane. He's going to be playing Loki. Cuvo Fred in the jungle is going to be your Freya. Lobster in the mid lane is on Zhongkui. Smek is your Hunter, pairing up with Tritz Tank in the dual lane as Apollo and Geb.
Across the way, long lineup here. SK Gaming is their opponents on the top side of the map. The red team, they are currently undefeated. Actually, they're currently 1-1 as C9 took the victory away from them, but they're playing so incredibly well. Left side, Maniacs playing in solo lane. 5.3 KDA, amazing play there. Captain Twig is not going to be playing today. Of course, it's going to be Angie standing in for him, but currently, statistically, he's the weakest player on SK, which is hard to say because he's amazing. Reels on the Hunter role. We've got Badja in support, and then Zeros in the jungle. And, of course, Zeros is going to be playing that very strong, Raw. So it looks like Angie's going to be standing in for jungle instead of mid this time around. So Zeros is now moving up toward the mid lane, and Angie's going down into the jungle.
Well, hey, why not? Why not go ahead and get those positions? And yeah, because reasons. That's a good gift. So on the left side here, that ward there, spotting out Zeros and Reels, so they're not going to be able to really do anything but secure these mid camps. They seem perfectly happy. Game Hunter getting a little testy here. He's going to poke his nose up to the orange buff and try to put a ward out, but Maniac with saying no thank you with that ward just off of the orange. No one interested in getting invaded. SK playing this one pretty safe when it comes to their warding.
That ward is becoming more and more standard right now, and honestly, we've seen it probably in about 70% of the games we've seen so far in the SPL. No one likes being evaded on the movement speed, but realistically, it's more for the blue buff. A lot of times you'll see members on the opposite side, on the order side, pick up the mid camp, rush over, invade the blue, steal it away, and make the solo that much harder. And so a lot of times you'll see people just put this ward down and say, hey, if you're going to do any funny business, we're going to spot it out, we're going to handle it, and we're going to go to lane and be stable for the starting of the laning phase.
Looking at the solo lane now, where we should expect to see a little bit of early aggression, as you do have a healer and a pretty resilient assassin with some nice AoE between them, and a lot of poke going up against these 2 assassins, Loki and Freya. Once Freya's kind of pulse is down there, she doesn't have much lane control to go up against SK here. So, and they didn't get kind of the optimal decoy into Freya clear there. So, it should be an opportunity for SK to get a little poke against TSM and try to take this lane over a little bit.
Some damage coming up from Chonga to clear it out. Actually, some poke coming back towards her as she tries to, hold on to this lane. Left side, Reel's getting pressured heavily by Smek. Smek is out for blood right now, throwing out those base attacks, trying to push the waves while simultaneously harassing Reels. Trickstang is standing back. This is actually a pretty strong trait for support players, is not taking too much damage in the lane so that you cannot initiate on those fights. Reels is trying to clear the wave out here, using that so beautiful the best that he possibly can. There goes the Astral Strike as well. Strong play. Right side, some damage coming out of Maniac. That is the tick from the Vanish, and then Game Hunter promptly backs off.
Now, just a little bit of harass there. Loki is going to hit level 4 before the duo lane currently of SK here, so good for Game Hunter if you are a Game Hunter fan or looking to have him score you some fantasy points. Good to see that he has that level advantage for SK and is currently 3rd amongst players in gold.
It's a little unfair that Zero is going to get points as the jungler, but playing as a mid for the fantasy.
That's true.
You can play him multiple times in multiple roles, but he's still a jungler. On the right side, Maniac's going to hold down this lane as he's losing a little bit of gold on the tower. Level 5 is Game Hunter here. If she hits level 5 on this, maybe a little bit easier. Not level 5 on Maniac, so Game Hunter may be looking to aggress on this next wave, depending on how things go. He's got an ultimate available. He's got that aim strike.
I don't think he's going to try to go in here on this one. just going to put out a little bit of damage, but he can't dive the tower just yet. Even with the ultimate, Chang'e, she can, well, she's not 5 yet, actually. There was an opportunity there for Game Hunter, I think. Without the Waxing Moon, if he sticks around and this this last minion doesn't give her level 5 here.
There it is.
There it is, okay. But still, not very much mana. Game Hunter doesn't look like he wants to have a risky game at all. Going to play that one super duper safe.
Yeah, he's been getting a lot of deaths early on, which is a little uncharacteristic for him. So he's going to switch his game up, play a little safe, and see how things progress from there. Kubo has now picked up his Tier 2 Magic Shoes. As mentioned in the startup of the pick stage for this game, Kubo Fred is currently the only member on TSM who is a positive KDA. Trickstick in trouble here. Ultimate from Nemesis. There's a shield coming out. The top from Badge. Up in there goes Rom. Reels looking for the snipe. There's the hit on Raw. Trickstick goes down. First blood for SK Gaming. Backing off the fight is Smek, but a wonderful play. This could be a Gold Fury.
Reels he just wants all of the points. That's all that it is. He's just trying to make sure that he carries everyone's fantasy teams.
Oh boy, that's what he's doing. He's doing it well. He got that kill there. So now the mid camp is going to be killed off the right side by Game Hunter with the help of Kubo, popping that vanish, but now out of mana as he runs over the right side. We'll need that hog to clear out the wave as it runs up towards the tower. But now it's on Smek, because Smek needs to make sure that he handles a first blood Reels.
Yeah, you know, Reels has done a very, very good job of securing himself farm as this SPL has gone on. He's been consistently among the top farming gods in every game that he's been in, which is not an easy task coming out of that dueling, because you do have your early experience leached away, fly your support, and, you know, you're just generally going 1v1 after having that duo lane. So you're just not quite as strong, generally speaking, as the soul laners and mid will in terms of farm, but Reel's finding a way to come out on top, and a lot of times it's off of these first bloods, where once again he's gone for this double stacking build. It's going to be Heartseeker into Devourers, it looks like, for both of the Hunters in this matchup.
Oh, popping the rollout here. It is Trickstick looking to move over to the mid camp. Obviously, look for the knockup in the mid lane. Zero's going to spot it out, go back toward the tower. 3 members here from TSM looking to aggress. And, you know, the trend I'm seeing right now, Bart, especially in the SPL and how Smite has grown, is that we're now getting to the point where this is a professional esport in the way that you have players that are so good at this game that if you make a small mistake, they'll punish you for it. Previous in the days of Smite, back towards, you know, before the launch tournament, players could make weird pathing mistakes and not get punished for it. But Trickstick, the second he goes up and over that rock, that's first blood. I mean, that small pathing mistake is what caused him to die here, because you're playing against players that are so good now that they will capitalize and coordinate themselves so quickly that it's over. You have to be very careful with the decisions you make.
Yeah, and decisiveness from Angie there on the Nemesis. Just the second he does overstep, as you mentioned, he just, whoop, there goes the ultimate, and Geb in a lot of trouble instantly as his protections are removed. And also for SK, nice draft here with Angie, the player filling in for Twig. Filling into the jungle role, but as the 5th player in place of Twig. Getting him in the Nemesis, and if you have a player that's not quite as tenured or isn't used to the pace of the professional game, Nemesis is a pretty easy jungler to get away with.
Yeah, definitely, and you know, scales well in the late game in the way that she kind of transcends from this ability-based assassin jungler to like an auto-attacking warrior at the late stage of the game, which really helps in the transition of team fights as the game does progress. Zeros has finished off his Warlock Sash. He rushed it up there in the mid lane, just really picking up that extra HP. Mid lane might be aggressed on here as Zeros is pushing up the wave, and we have Angie coming from behind on that Nemesis. Kivo's going to spot it out and go back towards the tower. Left side, Smek by himself, though. Athena's leading the charge. There goes the hit. There goes the shield, while great Serenade dashing away back towards the tower, taking a little bit of harassment here. But this is what Reels needs. Just come over, get a poke, and leave.
Yeah, it's good 400 damage put out safely there. Another ultimate coming out this time. It's going to be on to Lobster. No ultimate used yet from the jungle. Angie getting quite low, trying to dash away. Freya ultimate on top. Is it going to be enough? Yes, the last hit. But Athena will land. Badger's here. Reels up in the air, shooting those rockets down. Now rotating over as well as Apollo comes crashing in. Trickstick with a big ultimate, keeping Badger in place and securing the kill onto Zeros. Reels finds a kill in the back, but now forced to run away as Cuba Fred does secure the kill onto Badger. It ends up being a 3-for-1 exchange in favor of Team SoloMid.
TSM has responded here. Beautiful play. Maniac taking harassment there from Game Hunter, taking tons of damage. The Gold Fury is available. It looks like they don't want to go for it. They're going to let this one ride. They do have a lot of vision on the side of SK Gaming, so maybe they're just not willing to fight it there. But I am amazed with the amount of team play TSM is pulling out here. We saw Lobster drop down to critical HP. One hit. Maniac in the mid lane. Each time to get popped here. One more shot should do it. Needs the distance. Gets a crit as the back was facing towards that Loki behind you. Going to be a great passive for him as they are running away. And all of a sudden, we've got another kill for TSM. They're currently sitting 1,200 gold in the lead. If you're a TSM fan, you've been waiting for this moment. This is the climb we've seen before from TSM, and I love the fact that they're playing this well.
Yeah, that's a really important kill actually for Game Hunter there. You see he's kind of getting low on mana. It allows him to throw out this decoy, head back, and he will be able to pick up his combat boots, 1,000 gold rank 2 boots, just off of getting that kill. It just accelerates his timing and gives him a lot more itemization options now that he has those boots too out of the way. He can start buying a couple more wards, a couple more pots, and try to stay in lane. And as you see, yeah, he's got to pick up 2 wards in addition to his combat boots, and that's just going to give him a lot more lane presence as well. In addition to the run speed.
Yeah, the run speed's really important. You know, honestly, you look at a lot of Lokis as well who like running that Heartseeker, and movement speed is so incredibly important. Double stacking for real is going to use the ultimate to its fullest. We know that Astral Barrage does scale very well with lots of physical damage. No penetration just yet, but looking for that life steal. Spirit 1 has been picked up. Cubo Fred about to finish off that. Hasten Fatalis, as you mentioned earlier, Bart, a lot of things that can come out of it. And given the fact that, you know, since Pulse and Radiate are both duration-based abilities, the more you attack, the more damage you do, and you don't really need to have that early game scaling. The Shoes of the Magi is pretty much sufficient for that. Cubo looking to use movement speed to catch up on the dash for real is not going to be enough. Lobster trying to exercise the demons from Angie, but he is not into that kind of voodoo business, and he'll run over to the mid lane.
TSM trying to pressure the blue buff here on the left side, but Athena and Nemesis are floating around there. We have a little bit of a standoff as the teams look at each other, try to figure out who can aggress into whom. On the right side, still with the Game Hunter and Maniac matchup, it's starting to be the kind of thing where Game Hunter is getting a lot of kill potential now against Maniac, and Maniac having to be a lot more cautious with how he approaches this lane. Still trying to find the poke, but having a harder time doing it. Wards continue to come out on the left side as the teams continue to fight for positioning at this blue buff, and now TSM has rotated their mid laner over. They're going to make an aggressive play on this blue buff. How will SK respond?
Searing Pain coming out here, not going to land. They're going to get the blue buff away. Give me on the ground. Looks like Trix Tank's going to take it. As far as the actives go, both supports have picked up their tier 3 Hand of the Gods, knowing that the Gold Fury coming up shortly. Game Hunter now fighting against Maniac in the jungle on the right side. Looks like Game Hunter's just going to completely disengage. You don't want to go against a Chunga when your HP values Chunga over you. So you want to be the one to aggress on it. Gold Fury is going to be initiated on, looking for Badget. Great knockout from Gab. Good ultimate from Gab. Looking for the kill on Kibo. Going to find it. Smack from above. Dashing down. Badget will go down. That means this is going to be a free Gold Fury. It's going to be up to SK to defend this without a Hog 3. They're grouping up, but here comes Maniac.
No Hog 3. Also, no Raw ultimate was used to try to secure the blue buff, so it's a good opportunity for TSM to try to pile in there, but they're
still not going for it
on the defensive as that left side camp is picked up.
Wow, they're still not going for it. Game Hunter taking a lot of harassment from Maniac, trying to look for the kill, not going to find it. Trickstep comes in here, Shockwave going to come through, not going to land. Decoy going to come out, not going to do anything as far as the body blocking goes, and it looks like they're going to let that one slide away. But TSM, they're not looking for big gains here. No harsh gains yet for TSM. They're sitting at 1,000 gold in the lead and looking for small little victories. The question is, will that pay off? Because SK is not in the red.
Yeah, that's right. 1,200 gold in favor of TSM, about 3,000 experience. So they're doing a very nice job in the experience front. Taking a look at the leader of XP on their team. It's going to be Game Hunter at 670, 650 for Lobster, 600 for Smek. That, of course, XP per minute. All of them doing quite well. Comparatively, no one over 400 over on SK.
Right side jumping on top. Maniac avoids the assassinate from Loki with that waltz. Amazing timing there. Gold Fury is going to be counter-rewarded by Trixtank. He's rolling on out, playing very, very safe here. Looking at itemization right now, we can see that the boots have been completed for zeros. He's got that CDR, going to help him with more heals and, of course, more ult. His ultimate has a very, very short cooldown. One of the shortest cooldowns in the game, excluding Arachne's Cocoon, of course, which is the shortest. Going to be looking to use that more often here. Badja and Angie kind of falling behind in experience so far, and Angie actually quite low on gold. 5,000 gold to his name and level 9. You might be looking to Angie to start moving around the map a little bit more and getting more gold out of it. You can see the back harpies are still standing right now for SK Gaming, so Angie really needs to pick up the farm.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been super efficient, but he has been effective.
Yes.
Keeping the that Gev down, that early kill, and making sure that it does go to Reels. SK with 2 kills, both of them on the back of their Hunter, and we've seen his capability at carrying games, but is it going to be enough in this game where his top net worth on his team is not the top in the game currently? That going to Cuvo, Fred, and Freya will be able to go toe-to-toe with the ROM here at about in between maybe the 15 to about 20-minute mark, but once the Executioner on top of the boost comes out, it starts going back towards the Hunter.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing for them, as far as the standings go, right, is that you're going to see a lot of strong damage from Lobster mid-game with that Junkwei. Smek is not going to take off. Previously going into the match, right side, going to find Maniac. There's this assassin coming out. Each step is on cooldown, but Game Hunter does not want to engage on this one. The heal will be coming out shortly, but Game Hunter is taking his time with Maniac, toying with him with those daggers. Vanish comes out, looking for the hit, can't find it. Nice reaction from Maniac, actually going towards the tower. Going to avoid that with the dance. It's going to be enough. Gold Fury is up.
Yeah, Gold Fury going to get reset there. TSM did make the call to go in there, get it to about half health, but the rotation from Zeros, Angie, and Badjo enough to hold them out. TSM playing very cautiously, do not want to give up another loss here in this game. It looks like they were just saying, look, let's play a game where we don't make any mistakes and make the other team beat us instead of giving it away.
That's exactly right. Apollo now joining the left side to clear this wave out, making sure they don't push up too hard. Gold Fury still standing. And it's interesting to see the difference between NA and EU at this point. It seems like yesterday NA was just getting Gold Furies every single time it spawned, regardless of what the outcome was. Whereas we're going to see TSM and SK kind of tiptoe around the Gold Fury and wait for an opportunity to take it that's secure with no risk of losing it. So very, very cautious play so far. Maniac going to be going for his Warlock Sash, getting HP up. Lobster has picked up a Divine Ruin. I love this.
Yeah, Lobster on the Divine Rune now, and Zhonghui does have a lot of dots to
Fury.
start ticking down the healing ability. Smek's going to try to rotate. It's going to be too late. He's going to go into Angie and Zeros. The Maniac is here, and Trix Tank is not in great position to, initiate at this point. Can back up the aggression, but can't get in there and lock anybody down, and that's going to be a full-on retreat from SK. And as you mentioned, a free Gold Fury going the way of SK Gaming. That draws us to dead even in gold. The experience just under 2,000, still in favor of TSM, but that lead's starting to dwindle as well as SK continues to make splashes in the puddle here of Smite.
This was a major failure for TSM. They didn't have vision of the Gold Fury. They didn't really try to cover it as often. They had to be aggressive with the Gold Fury. They had to be in the area and constantly checking it because it can go very, very quickly. The Gold Fury is not a very durable creature in mythology, so he's going to be dropped down very quickly. And the other thing as well is that, when they were looking for the follow-up on the fight, they did not focus the same target. Cuba was going for the mid hit as he's left side. Smek's taking a lot of damage here. Look for this dash. He's going to be okay, it looks like. Now Real's taking up the tower, but they split their damage actually on right side. Oh boy.
Zhonghui going to stun out, but there is an ultimate on him from Nemesis, zapping his protections. He's channeling out the demons. Now it's Zero's in a lot of trouble as Game Hunter rotates over, doesn't catch him. Hugo Fred looking like he's going to fall as well. The ultimate coming out from Freya. Lobster's going to be there to protect his teammate, and Fred will make it out of there A-okay, but back towards the left side where Badger has a decent angle, not going to find the taunt with that full group wave behind him. It was a kill opportunity, but unable to secure it.
Zero's going down there, a big pickup for them, considering the fact that he is tied for second, or for the most farm on his team. And actually in the game right now, Game Hunter is tied with them as well, so definitely a lot of good kills for TSM. I like the fact that Lobster's now using Zhonghui's presence to block out engagement and save teammates left and right. Angel's going to come to the mid lane and clear out that wave pretty effectively here as it does end up going down. Left side looking for a lot of aggression on Smek, and this is kind of the key, right? Smek has been going toe-to-toe with Reals just fine, and that's working out perfectly for TSM. As long as Reals isn't getting solo kills and pushing that tower early on, it seems like SK can be defeated.
Well, speaking of early towers, right side tier 1 might fall here to these archers. Will the wave be in time?
Oh.
Yes. The archers are sitting there and they say, you know what's better than killing a tower and getting my entire team gold and finally doing something useful in my life?
Shooting this brute in the face.
Doing 40 damage to this brute.
That's right. That's a good win. A win in the book of the minions. Left side mid camp and respawning here. Looks like Cuba's going to go over and pick up this movement speed buff. Movement speed is incredibly valuable for a character like Freya. More attacks, more damage, more win, and more profit. Across the way, Zeros looks like he's going to be going for a Book of Thoth here early on as well. I don't imagine that his sash is fully stacked, but it's got to be close in the 80s or 90s possibly as far as the amount of stacks picked up. Right side tower is very low, as you mentioned, Bard. It looks like Game Hunter is looking to take it out pretty shortly.
Yeah, Zero sitting on about 2,990 health and about 1,850 on Chang'e, so both of them starting to get those Warlocks pretty stacked up, reaching that 2k HP threshold. Well,
right now we're going to see on the right side, looking for a kill on Maniac, click for the tower anyways. I don't know why he wouldn't just wait and just use the movement speed from Vanish to walk up and smack this tower and then disengage entirely, just because it's a good... It's 500 gold, right? So it's 100 gold per person, but realistically it just opens up the map a lot more.
Well, look, they're rotating over Trix Tank and Cuba Fred. They want to dive the tower and try to pick up a kill in the Chang'e, but this is going to prompt SK to come over as well.
He's just backing.
Yeah, and I think Lobster's going to try to zone them out, and now the tower will fall to the creep wave, but I think in some ways, a lot of times you want to keep that tower alive because it does freeze the soul laner there. You know, a little bit of mind games. Like, you're going to have to stay here and try to deal with this.
Well, at the same point, it looks like Maniac had just abandoned the tower, realizing that that was all done and gone. We've got, of course, Lobster going for an Enchanted Spear, and Game Hunter going for his very standard build, which is a little bit different from other Loki players. He likes to pick up a Titan's Bane, and then after that, he generally goes into a Jotun's Wrath. So he likes the CDR, he likes the full pen on that Loki, and it's going to be great, right? Because you look across the way, no one's really picking up defense except for Badge, and that Aura's going to help out a lot, but, you know, characters like pretty much everyone except for Athena are going to be pretty easy to kill once you have that Titan's Bane active.
Chin size completed here onto Angie, so Trix Tank going to have his work cut out for him as that HP proc will start doing work. And, you know, it could be better, right? It could be on the side that doesn't have the 2 Warlock Session going into that with the chins, but still plenty of HP to take away here between Lobster and Trix, both of them with pretty aggressive HP scaling. So Angie's chin size should still be pretty effective, and he's got him in a decent timing as well, just past the 15-minute mark when he was able to pick those up. So look for the Nemesis to get a little bit more involved. You know, maybe pick up a couple kills here in the next couple of minutes, get to that 2-1 and 2 point, and make her presence felt around the map, and maybe shut down the Zhang Kui a bit.
We're seeing more supports nowadays picking up that shell. We see Badger holding on to that shell. Currently, Trixton across the way, of course, is gone. For the very wonderful Weakening Curse as the 2 heroes on the right side. Game Hunter looking for a hit on Maniac. Not going to find it, though. But yeah, I love Weakening Curse against more than one healer. It's the only choice to make.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, it's AoE 100% healing reduction.
That's right. For 5 seconds, that's a long time to not be able to heal anybody.
Yeah, there's not other things that you would want to do against healing besides that if you don't have to. Divine Ruin. A little bit better than the Brawler's Beatstick just because of the AoE we typically have. But let's hold that thought as Gold Fury fight does break out. In comes Angie, putting out that ultimate onto Geb, trying to force him into an arc position. Lobster's here channeling out his damage. TSM will secure that Gold Fury. Lobster continue to do tons of damage in this fight. Over the top now is the Freya damage from Fred as Smek picks up Angie with a So Beautiful. Lobster going to get chased down here, it looks like, by Zeros. Indeed, he will. Reels takes to this guy, but will be falling shortly to Game Hunter, just putting out as much damage as he can. Now trying to dash away, but the Game Hunter is there with 2 in hands, and that will be a deicide in favor of TSM, and they're going to make their way right across the map to the Fire Giant. If they can get this buff, this will turn into about about 7,000 gold really fast, as they will be able to take out the rest of the remaining towers after this major objective secure. And this is really worst case scenario for SK Gaming here. Lose a fight at the Gold Fury, lose a Gold Fury, lose all 5, and a Fire Giant with a lot of towers standing, but at the point in the game where the players have a lot of power and can chew through them very quickly.
Yeah, amazing play there by TSM. They played that perfectly. We saw a great flank from Trixton. Geb actually had a really strong initiation with the ultimate. He pulled the Gold Fury back towards him, and what he did is he made sure that the Gold Fury actually leashed to him, which means that it was going to be in his melee range for the Hog as soon as it went into threshold there. So just the small distance between Trixtank and the Gold Fury and Badge and the Gold Fury allowed him to hog it first, securing that Gold Fury for his team, and of course getting that nice DSI. I love the fact that Game Hunter just went over to where Rom was, stood below him. Rom tried to use the ultimate, but that's the problem, right? One of the biggest downsides of Rom is that if you're losing the team fight and you're up in the air, all of a sudden you can't influence it.
Yeah, and you know, one thing we haven't seen too much of versus Reels here has been Giannis, who's extremely effective at dealing with Rom. You go up in there, he puts a portal underneath you, and then you drop through doing damage to yourself. Game Hunter is going to be building into what appears to be a Brawler's Beatstick, would be my guess for that. I mean, it could be a Jotun's Wrath. Jotun's would make... Obviously, would make sense, right? I mean, Jotun's giving the cooldown reduction and the flat.
He runs this is a static build. He likes Heartseeker, Boots, Titan's Bane, Jotuns. He builds it almost every single time on Loki.
But Brawlers could be a good pickup here. I mean, they already have the Divine Ruin. They can start stacking up that healing reduction. It gives them the pen. It gives them more damage than Jotuns. It just doesn't give them the cooldown reduction, but they haven't been a necessity for that as of yet. You're right. It is almost guaranteed to be Jotuns. I'm just trying to make a good case for why I would like to see a Brawlers, because it's Nito.
Neato, indeed. Well, of course, the target that he's trying to burst is certainly a target you want to not be healed, so there's a good argument there in the way that you'd want to actually have the target that Loki's focusing die as quickly as possible, which, of course, with Ra and the Chung on the other side, a lot of healing. Double taunt in the mid lane, looking for Badja. The damage from Cubo is insane here. The shell's active, but it's not going to save him. Looking for a fight here. Lobster going in. Nemesis ultimate on top of Lobster, forcing away. Good stun on Angie. Up there goes Freya. Good retribution shield from Angie, forcing him back towards the tower. Zero Sets goes back to the base and heal up on that well. Tier 2 tower in the mid lane is gone. Left tier 2 is going down shortly here. This may be the TSM everyone's been waiting for. They're currently sitting a very strong 9,200 gold elite, 16,000 experience, plus a Fire Giant buff. If you're a longtime TSM fan, feel that juicy goodness in your soul.
The juicy goodness of what happens when Game Hunter snowballs for your team. 3-0-3, 4-0-4 for Smek. Both of them doing quite well. A great initiation here by Trixtank with the knock up, the banish out on the Reels. He's going to be forced, well, to Aegis here. He should have the roll available, but doesn't matter because Game Hunter's over the top with the ultimate. The assassinate coming out. Game Hunter looks like he's going to fall in this fight. No, finding a way out just barely somehow. Fred picks up Maniac as well. 2 more to fall for SK as TSM is looking to break the base. They won't be able to, but they did net themselves a tremendous amount of gold, up to 10,000 in their favor, almost 20,000 experience as well, and only 2 level 20s on the board on their side. That 20k is full and real.
It is very real, and it is hurting a lot. I mean, you can see currently Badger level 12, Angie level 14, Maniac level 17, whereas there's 2 level 20s and almost a third on the side of TSM. Things looking so sharp and crisp for them. Zeros has picked up his double stacking, but he doesn't really have any penetration, which is a major issue for him so far. A lot of the magic protection that is built into the level gains for everyone on TSM is hurting Zeros more than it's helping. Crossway Reels has gone for greater Aegis this time around, trying to avoid the damage from the Loki and Freya.
Yeah.
Of course, you got the CC, the one that can be used during CC, just because if Loki initiates, you pop it right when he stuns you with Assassinate and try to avoid the aim strike after.
Right side, here comes TSM. They're going to go ahead and take out this tier 2 on the right, tanked up easily by Trix Tank, and now it comes down to the final stand for SK. Can they keep TSM out of the base? Lobster's going to push up the mid, while the rest of the team, as 4, pushes down the right, and you still had that Fire Giant buff active on Smek, plus double stacking, and some pen to his name, which means that this tower is going to fall very, very quickly with his 255 physical power.
Ooh, Game Hunter got caught out there. Good stun. 5-man stun from Trix Tank. They need to disengage here. Here comes rotation from Lobster, but they're pushing way too hard. The shell is active. Lobster's by himself. He's got nowhere to go. Damage from Reels is forcing him away. Caesar and Pain's not going to land. There's an Imps ultimate as well. Angie going up. There goes the hit from Rob. Lobster going to die all on his lonesome. Trix Tank comes over to help him, but what are they going for? Cubo's out of the fight, and Smek is flying away, but that was a poorly coordinated push on the Phoenix. They got it, but they didn't back off.
They got a 5-man ult from Geb and a 2-man banish from Freya, and took the Phoenix out, still lost the fight.
They should have just run away at this point. And credit goes to for SK for finding Game Hunter and killing him at the start of the fight. Because once he's down, they don't have that burst, and then the healing is that much more effective, right? Because if you have constant or sustained DPS, healing's gonna be able to counter that pretty effectively. You just stand inside the raw heal, Chunga's me next to you, that's fine. But the burst is the problem, right? Because Loki comes in, assassinates, aim strikes, vanish, that's it. Fire Giant's respawning, and they're not ready for it.
Yeah, 10 seconds away is the Fire Giant. Freya getting zoned out as well. No ultimates available outside of Cubos here. Game Hunters has come back online as well. Lobster and Trick still down for about another 10 seconds. SK is here. Fire Giant is here as well, and they're going to go in. They're going to try to make a big play here and come back against TSM. The Freya banish is real, though. You got to watch out for that as Geb is now leaving the base. Will it be enough? Can Cuba Fred keep the team out of the Fire Giant pit? Taking it to the skies. Now here comes Smek trying to throw in the pot shots. Game Hunter's here as well, looking to assassinate Angie, who's going to open up on TSM. Takes away the Fire Giant. Game Hunter with the Hog 3 invisible, steals it away from SK. Smek now cleaning up the team as he dashes in. Reels and Zeros full on retreat as the Fire Giant is taken easily by the invisible Loki. 3 players fall as well, and this should be the game for Team SoloMid.
Looking for the dash, gonna try and find Reels. Serenade not in range. Serenade needs some crits here, needs a few shots. He backpedals away from the Phoenix. Not gonna be able to find it. There's an assassinate. Game Hunter gets Reels in the backside. Now they have a chance to take out the Phoenix, and they actually probably have lethal here if they want to push it all the way in. The kill from Cubo Fred takes out Zero. Surrender vote has started from SK Gaming. TSM may be finding their first win of the Smite Pro League in the first week on the 4th day, no less. And if you're gonna get your first win of the week, you may as well do it against the very strong and powerful SK Gaming.
This game was TSM's through and through. Looking at the final slash lines there, 6-0-8 for Smek, 5-0-10 for Fred, 5-1-6 for Game Hunter. So if you had TSM on your fantasy team, it is looking good, as you have a lot of big performances there. And they came from really the places that we're used to seeing the big performances from on Team SoloMid. Smek having a very good game, Cuvo as well as Game Hunter.
That's right. Well, I have Game Hunter and I've got Cubo, so I'm looking pretty sharp there. Reels did 3-3-3, but he has already done a lot of points this week. I think he can take a rest.
Yeah.
He's okay on that one. So TSM finally finding their victory. Ladies and gentlemen, a very strong victory indeed, and they showed their stuff there. I mean, it was very slow and casual. I think that's a good look for TSM. They realize, we're 0-2. We're not looking so sharp. Let's not rush the Gold Fury. Let's not rush the tower. Let's play it very slow, very careful. And then they'll realize, okay, we're going to start getting 500 gold every engagement. It's going to stack up, and then seal the deal. They got that deicide.
I mean, they did have there was a little bit of shakiness there. They did elect to not go for that Gold Fury off of the early kill onto the enemy Guardian, and then kind of played it so carefully that SK was able to pick up that Gold Fury. And the game almost went open in their favor there, as Reels was a couple kills ahead, but it was wrestled back by TSM. We do have a replay available, guys. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one here.
Smek.
And watch as Smek is just, this has got to be the double kill here.
Oh man, let's see the team fight started. And he's actually going to chase down the kill for the ROM later, but watch him kind of strafe back and forth, get sprint active. I like how he's backpedaling away, not being fully engaged in the fight, using the life steal available, and going to go for the right target. He's coordinating with his team on the targets that they are focusing. That makes such a big difference. Double kill for Smek. Now he's going to go for Reels. Watch how long he chases this. He knows that he's got a little bit of movement speed on him. He's going to keep pushing. He pops the Serenade as we end the replay there, but of course, as we saw,
Ultimate,
that chase ultimate as the Phoenix. Game Hunter got the assassinate, but the Serenade bought enough time, plus enough damage from the So Beautiful to get the kill. It was a beautiful play by Smek, and that's what you like to see, right? And this is the difference between teams that win team fights and teams that don't, is focusing the same target, burst that one person, and then move from target to target. It's just standard RPG strategy.
It is. So that's going to do it for us guys here for game number 1. Game number 2 is Mortality versus Team Coast Blue. That's going to be coming up at the top of the hour. So you got about 15 to 20 minutes before that game is live. We will be back just before then to give you the quick pre-game show. For Dry Bear and hi-rez Bart, we'll see you guys for Mortality versus Coast in just about 15 minutes.